Thank you so much for joining this Ask Me Anything AMA with Gaurav Kohli. A little background about for today. So, Gaurav is the CEO of VitalFriend, a company that we are evaluating for a potential investment. Now, as you're aware, how we operate is that we reach out to our network for subject matter experts, for clinicians, and other healthcare professionals. And VitalFriend has been undergoing a very strong due diligence on our network. Many of you have been a part of our due diligence and had raised some questions. So, we thought we would have this AMA where you can directly meet the CEO and his medical advisor and ask them the questions that you may have. This entire conversation will support our due diligence process and help us take a decision whether we are how we should invest in VitalFriend. So Gaurav and his, I believe your medical advisor Abhijit would be joining later.
Yes, but I'm here to answer anything. I'm not a medical doctor, but I have lived and breathing this from the time I started my startup 10 months ago. So I'm happy to answer any questions for sure. Okay, so if I can take it from here, Sheetal, I want to give a little background. So my background is just as a founder and CEO of VitalFriend, have done multi-startups. This is my fifth startup. My first startup has been in a different space, different industry, but have had a chance to have good exits up to about close to half a billion dollar, and then my investors got almost close to 30x in the previous industry that I had done. Some of my products and everything that I built are actually in use by most of the people in US and other countries. So not a first rodeo, and I see Abhit, my chief medical officer, has also joined. So thank you, Abhit, for joining. And my basically the most important thing I wanted to bring it up, and as I'll share my screen, I talk about my background is being into building and investing in startups and doing as a fund manager in the past, as well as running startups as a serial entrepreneur. So I understand from the investment side, I understand from the exit side, I understand from what it should be. So I look at whenever I even build my own startup, I look at it and saying, one, which is the team, which is a product, which is basically the market. How do you make sure that you have no risk? How do you de-risk some of the things? How do you learn the main things? How do you make it go to market? How do you scale? And how do you exit in the end? I don't want my investors to be with me for the next 10 years and then, be with me and telling their kids and saying, you will get an exit one day when they become old. That's not the goal of my company. I have a 4-year plan, and that's what I execute very strongly or based on data. So, as I was saying about the team, there's a team, hand-picked team from all my past experiences, people I know for 22 years, 26 years, 15 years, and the brilliant in their own industry and CEOs of their own companies in the past that they have done. Together, the C-suite has 9 exits total, including 3 public exits. That's huge to have a startup C-suite built. Our advisory, same thing. Bigger folks, they've done an amazing stuff. Dr. Shell owns a patent for transfusion in the whole of America. A bunch of cool stuff that has been built in there. So what have we done? If you think about it, from what we have built is a device agnostic platform, which basically is the one that will collect all the data from our FDA cleared medical watch, which is the first ever FDA cleared medical watch in the world that takes oximeter reading using the cuff and the band, which is a pump right here, and it blows and inflates and deflates. When you take that data and you collect the data real time, 1,440 data points per vital per day. We do 10 biomarkers that we collect. And for HRV, we collect 8.64 million data points every 10 milliseconds. When we take all this data and consume the data, the history and the story of the background history, the health statistics of a user is completely different. We have medication adherence built in. If you missed your medication, what happens? We have a blood pressure, deep sleep blood pressure built in. We are the ones who are basically filing patent for that. So lots of things that come in when you collect this much data. So you get a holistic life cycle and a life view of the person to see how they're doing over time. When you collect that data, it is also a monitoring service on top of it that is built in, which nurses are actually monitoring the data, making notes, and then our doctors do a televisit once a month. When you take all that holistic view, you're able to basically bill to the Medicare, and it's paid by insurance. We do have a cash pay model, but our biggest revenue is on the insurance model right now. And it's growing like wildfire. We have UCLA using us for oncology study. We have basically, LMU as a university invested on us. And if you think about it, what is in for the patient? It's their data. They have it first time. It's not shared or owned or sold to anybody. Physicians basically are happy because they know exactly what's happening from the remote patient monitoring side of the health of their patients. So they are happy. Family members are happy because they get peace of mind. My parents sitting in India, and I can trigger and look at their data right sitting here remotely. I can even trigger a blood pressure remotely sitting in that country from here. That is the power of technology, and that's the power of what we have built with our patents. Doctors can even send notes directly in a message note to the particular person to help them out, to have their medicine on time, to have better care gaps, decreasing the care gaps towards the end of the year. Hospitalization rates are better so that you don't go to the hospital running every single time. The adherence, we have a 94% adherence. When I looked at RPM in the past, it failed. It had fraud built in. People could not make money. It was actually having all these data that they're calling the patients and saying, please sit down and collect your data. Please do this. Please do that. All that is eliminated with one device, which is this, which is the FDA cleared. We call it BUDDI, Biometric Unified Data Delivery Interface. It's going to revolutionize healthcare in terms of what we are doing. So I'm glad to be here to help and to answer any questions. Sheetal, back to you. Do you
Yeah.
want to give it to Abhit so he can do a quick introduction?
Yes.
Okay.
Abhit, yeah. Could you give a brief background about yourself?
Thank you, Shadal. Gaurav is always a hard act to follow, but I'll try my best. I am an MD, MHA, and I basically have been the chief medical officer of many different startups throughout my career by now. As Gaurav mentioned in the slide, I've been the CMO of Google Glass for frontline physicians and surgeons, pre-op, intra-op, post-op, and peri-op. That was Clear Protocol Inc., and that was a Los Angeles-based startup. Very innovative. I was their principal investigator on their clinical trials at Cottage Health in Santa Barbara as well. Basically, I helped successfully lobbied the US FDA to decategorize it from a medical device, categorize it as a digital health accessory, so shaved years off the go-to market, so to speak, for patients. And so I've been the chief regulatory officer, Intramume Therapeutics as well. It's a food allergy desensitization company for which, food allergies can get pretty deadly because of anaphylaxis. Folks always have to carry an EpiPen. So again, the world's first toothpaste-based immunological memory inducing molecule with the embedded in the toothpaste. And so again, the FDA hemmed and hawed. So my sweet spot is always in things which the FDA has never done before. I really kind of nudge them and egg them to kind of get approvals for clinical trials. Again, that was the Omega trial. It was very successful. The company might be listed on NASDAQ as well in this year. So Gaurav, that will be the 10th exit with the C-suite. And so very, very interesting companies. I met Gaurav in Vegas, and when he broached this idea, I felt it was hitherto very novel in the oscillometric pump-based blood pressure on the wrist form factor. And that's why I chose to become involved with the company. Again, a bevy of biomarkers between blood pressure, HR, HRV. We really want to be the one ring which rules them all, so to speak, for a lot of the Rings fans in here. And so I'm really excited to help scale this company and take it to the FDA for other indications in the future, potentially, and really guide the clinical strategy and then also the fundraising for this company. Again, like Gaurav, not my first rodeo. Been there, done that many times over. But this particular company I'm really stoked about personally. So again, happy to take any questions right now. I wanted to keep it succinct and allow a lot of breathing room for people to engage. But yes, that's a little about my background, Sheetal. Thank you for
Thank you,
asking.
Abhit. Thanks, Atan. That was really helpful.
Can I
Uh,
add one quick thing, Sheetal?
of
So thank you so much, Abhit. And on the one thing forgot to mention to the audience and the doctors here is that we are right now collecting macro biomarkers in the platform. Our platform is 100% device agnostic. We integrated to Dexcom. We integrated to other devices, Apple, Google, you name it. That's how when we started. So we are not a device company and married to the device. We just found this device and have exclusive rights of this or the whole world here. with a joint patent that we're filing with the manufacturer already. So there's a lot of risk. Like I said, always think like an investor first too, and then also think like a lot of other areas. So we have already removed and de-risked many different items in our list and everything, because if somebody else could come up with a better device. So from the exit strategy, it is easily an acquisition. And if you execute it a lot more, it can be an IPO. But that's how the thought process is. Another piece I want to mention is that we are also integrating lab reports and medication, because we can do medication efficacy in our platform. And that's where Abhit comes in, and he's been talking to multiple different genetic companies, DNA companies, for taking micro biomarkers, connecting to the system. So now we will have a macro and a micro in a holistic view. When you are basically doing an exercise in the morning and you're basically saying, I'm going to do my 10,000 steps, how do you know you had a better blood pressure in the nighttime for nocturnal vitals? So these are these parameters. When you start looking at it and you start making sense of the holistic view of the health, is a very different thing on continuously monitoring. So I'll leave it right there. Thanks, Sheetal. Back to you.
Thank you, Gaurav. That was really helpful. It helps to know the differentiation about, because devices, you're right, there can be other devices that can come in the market. So, what is it
Exactly.
that does differentiate your technology? That's helpful. I'd like to open this now to the audience for questions. And feel free, there is no question that is too much or too silly or anything. We'd love to know every point of perspective we may not have thought about. So I'll open it to the audience at this point.
Gaurav, you were talking about adherence, right? When it came to the initial adherence, it is somewhat around about 90%. So, how does the engagement behave over the 6 to 12-month period? And can you give a bit of a brief about any key drivers for the drop off as well?
Abhishek, that's a very good question. That's actually exactly one of the questions that Jeremy had asked yesterday in the call, is like, how do you make sure that you maintain this high retention and high adherence? Because people know that an industry standard on the RPM is only 30% max. And then on the RPM adoption is only 12% or 13%. So how can we claim such a high number and be so proud of it, what we are doing? So let me answer that actually question. I totally understand the numbers that are out there in the industry. What people we have built is what resonates to people. We have a messaging platform that grandkids can send messages to the grandparents using the watch. We have a messaging platform that the family can real time find out what is happening with their family members' health. Whereas the sense of belonging for the seniors, the sense of knowing that somebody is watching me, the sense of knowing that I'm connected to my family, that increases adherence. I can tell you stories and stories where people have said, can you just, I have this buddy, please, on my hand. I said, you don't qualify for it. And she said, the reason I want the buddy is because you guys talk to us every month with a televisit. That connection of a human touch is so important to increase adherence and retention. That is it. Second, the ease of use. It is so easy, seamless. You slap it on you, it's working. You don't have to do it. Three, also it's seamless. You don't have to charge it every day. It has a 5 days battery life with a 12 blood pressure energy, 12 blood pressure taken every day. If I take that to only 2 blood pressure points, it's a 15 days battery life. That's what we've worked on, which is huge. Not even Apple has it, right? From that perspective. Now, when you apply the third item to it, so it's the seamless, it's the connectivity, and it's basically knowing that the data health is getting a holistic view of what's going on. Then the last, which is a kicker, when you put this in the hand of the seniors, I've done so many, right? And we have total patients right now, paid patients about a 380 with a 330K ARR. And we have total watches out there is about 700. And then the 600 inventory is coming out next week, which are going to deploy like in weeks, basically. So a lot of happening. But let me get back to you. Once you go back to a senior and you put this in the hand of a senior, right then, I don't tell them nothing. I just tell them, please, no crossing legs, put feet on the ground, put your hand up here, and then and it starts. They get it. Oh my God, this is like a blood pressure cuff that used to be on my hand, and I mean on my arm, and now it's on my wrist. Oh, this is just taking my blood pressure, guys. That feeling is priceless. And that's why they wear it over and over again. When you tell a person you got hypertension, or when you tell a person you got to have your blood pressure medicine, every time they sit down in front of the table and then they put the hand like this, they put the cuff on, they don't know how to put it right or wrong. They press a button. This eliminates everything because we know their baselines. We know it takes so many times. Because of that reason, we know how to tell them, is it too high or too low? Algorithms work based on repetitive use of a product.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Abhishek, I hope that answers the question. Okay.
Yeah, sure, it does. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think I saw a hand somewhere.
So I will tell you one thing. If nobody asking a question, I'll say a couple of things. So as I said, Gary over the course of this time has become a good mentor and a friend because of, and he's wearing it. Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate it. Appreciate it. And he can tell you way more than I can tell you because he's fun from doctor wearing it. Abhit has been wearing it, but Abhit could be biased to the company and loves the company so much, right? But Gary, being in the completely in that area, he can tell you exactly what is going on. So there's no question that is we have not thought about. We might have, but the key thing I'll tell you why I'm interested. I have rejected more money from basically investors in the industry because of my background. I've taken money from Tim Draper, Steve Jevison, Mark Weiser, Venrock. Last fund I took 50 million from Bessemer. So Jeremy, right? So I have done that stuff. The reason I loved when I got approached to a common friend who introduced me to Gary was because of the network. This network effect that Gary has created is far beyond in terms of what it is because getting a stamp to I have nephrologists, cardiologists, neurologists all wearing it today, but that network effect once comes into our cap table, it's far beyond next level because now we can just say, hey guys, what do you think? Let's run a test here, let's run a test here, test there, and then you go on. That flourishes the scale. But we are also right now we just hired our chief commercial officer 2 days ago because we have been doing pure organic growth. And everything I mentioned to you, numbers and everything, is all last 10 months, guys. It's the fastest ever to revenue and the fastest ever to growth. A company that I have invested or built. So I'm not taking credit, but I'd say that, we're doing right something and it's saving lives. We have saved over 10 lives and we've had people who had passed away. We even called the time of death using our BUDDI because people died in sleep and they didn't know. So lots of use cases. So please go ahead. I'm looking for some good questions.
I actually have one question, Gaurav. How many devices have been deployed so far, and how many clinicians are actively using these?
So we have total deployments of 700 over devices right now, everywhere. Friends, families, people, like everybody included, right? If we talk about, and the total paid patients is 380. 360, 380, something like that number is there, which we are paying and collecting the money from. There are also cash pay patients which are there, which I don't count. They're part of those 700, some of them, right? Like I meet them in the conference. I want it. I can't live without it. I don't have any chronic condition, but this is amazing, right? And so we have only priced it for $150. So I say, here you go, right? And we have a Stripe account for that. So that's what. Now, from the clinician side of it, when we started, we are focused 100% on ALF, assisted living, senior living, independent living, and skilled nursing facility because we are making a huge impact of time saving for them. Huge, basically. Now you apply that to the clinicians. Our clinicians market opened up in February. I said, let's go meet some doctors. Then now we have urologists, cardiologists, nephrologists. So we have about close to 10 to 15 doctors that are actually right now recommending to their patients and we are actively working with. We have dementia rehab rehab for substance abuse and dementia patient facility also using us on a cash pay model, not even on an insurance model, because a platform they love. Because now they're able to see the data directly on the platform. We have one facility I truly can bring up here. They actually started with their patients. They gave even the device to the caretakers. And for them, we wrote an algorithm because they said, how do we know the caretaker is meeting the patient? So we have a signal strength when the caretaker is wearing the BUDDI, comes closer to the dementia patient. We know that the caretaker met that patient because of the same signal strength on the two BUDDIs. So this is innovative. It's like, we didn't even think about. Sheetal, the case I told you, I gave it to one of the senior who's just turned 65 and he became part of the Medicare, has chronic condition, hypertension. He's been trying to reverse his stuff. He has peptides. He was able to call me and saying, thank you. He's part of the testimonial, one of the testimonial. He said he was able to detect high blood pressure because of peptides. I didn't even think about this use case when I was building. So these are the things where you build a product and it flourishes because of the platform.
And actually, on that note, I wanted to request, do you think you can show a slide demo of the platform? I know we would be possible.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah,
that
you
goes
can
a
share your
different way.
screen and
So,
show a small demo.
yeah, so before I go into that one, is anybody has any questions or I can jump right into demo because that would be amazing.
Well, yeah, it's Gary. I'm going to jump in just for a second. Gaurav, thanks for doing this, and thank you everyone for joining this event because we're pretty excited about this. So just a statement for the group in terms of how we're looking at it. Many of you who are investors know that, very early on with Fund One, we had invested in a company that was in a very similar space. It was SensorFree, and it was a pure device. Okay. And we were very, very excited about it. And this is 8 years ago now. The technology has changed quite a bit. So, but for many different reasons, that company did not succeed because of the FDA from a device perspective. But now, and many of you have been with us from the beginning, as the fund and the network have evolved, is we've changed our focus quite a bit in terms of our investment thesis. And that is that, look, the realization you come to after a while is that, especially with the advancement of technology now, the devices themselves are going to change at the speed of light over time. Okay. Look, I've been wearing this watch now for probably 2 weeks, and it's a very interesting technology in the way it's created, and I love it. And it's taking my blood pressure every hour, and it's bringing my heart rate and my O2 sat. But again, the reason I make that statement is, what are all those things? They are data points. Okay. And at the end of the day, I think many of us have come to the conclusion that the future of healthcare is data, how we collect the data, what we do with the data, and then how do we process the data. Here we are in this new age of, and I think most of you know, I don't like the AI word, but in this machine learning environment, the speed of which medical information, PI research is changing is like it's doubling every 78 days. There's some crazy number in the medical field, and it's unwieldy because it's impossible for even the brightest of clinicians to be able to process and treat patients with all this new information that's coming. And data is also the way we've been dealing with EHRs now for 15 years. We're collecting all this phenotypic data. Now we're getting all of this genotypic data, and it's all coming together. And there has to be a place where it comes together for the clinician and for the patient to be able to effectively manage it, and manage it in a way where it's assisted intelligence. It's helping us identify trends. It's helping us identify outlying results in a way where, look, the clinician, even their practice, their nurse practitioners, we can't pay attention to that on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis effectively. But if we have a passive monitoring system that allows us to do it, and to do it in a way where you all know me, I've got this watch and the Apple Watch and the Oura Ring, and I've got every toy known to man. Whoever dies with the most toys wins. But that's not realistic for the average patient. So if you can wear one device that could over time start to incorporate more and more of the new technology and ability to monitor non-invasively, these vital signs and data points, it becomes really, really important. So as Gaurav knows, this is my first question to him when I first saw this, because I fell in love immediately with the watch, is, okay, but what's the software on, what are you doing with the software on the other side of it? And that's why I'm happy you brought this up, Sheetal, because I've been playing with the platform too now for about a week and a half. And, again, right now I only have one patient on it, me. But so I'm playing doctor and patient at the same time, but I've already at least 5 times come to a conclusion based on having all this data and changes that I've made in my longevity platform, and style, and the way it changes I've made to my supplements, and the timing of when I take my supplements, and then I do my intermittent fasting, and I'm using a lumen to look at my carbon dioxide, so it all comes together, and it's a little bit still unwieldy because it's all over the place, but ultimately it'll all be in one place. And I've made changes to my regimen based on all of this ongoing feedback, which is huge, because I never would have done those things, and I wouldn't be as effective as what I'm doing in my precision medicine and longevity approach to my care. So, Gaurav is going to show you now the platform, and that's where the real value is when I put on the VC hat for all of us. Okay, we're looking at a company that's not just a device. Okay. Yeah. It's a company that's developing the software to help the clinicians and the patients ongoingly manage it very effectively. So with that, I'll let you take the lead.
Thank you, Gary. And before that, I want to ask Gary, as this is HIPAA compliant systems, Do you mind we can show your data for a quick one? Okay, I got the consent. Everybody got it?
I
Okay, so
said, no problem. I'm proud of it.
I know. I'm going to show Gary's data. So what he says is real time. So it works better than anything. So I have Gary's data right here. As he said, is patient one. Gary, congratulations. You're total green, which actually is amazing. But versus if I look at another one, there's green, red, yellow, and
Is it
stuff for
is it
patients.
up on the screen, guys? I don't see it.
It is, yes.
Oh, okay,
It is.
great. Okay, good.
Yeah. So guys, there is all green and everything. And as RPM does every month, so today is the first, so that's why you have one of 31 days adherence. That doesn't mean he doesn't have adherence in the past. I'm going to show you that. The cool part about what we have built, and this is what I was saying to a couple of clinicians, right? Why they love us is because of transparency of being fraud. You're putting your network in there. You're putting your NPI in there. It's phenomenal. You're believing somebody. So the way it is, the way we have done is a patient can click and exactly see how much to bill by the end of the month. A clinician can exactly click and see exactly what CPT codes are getting billed for which patient and everything. That transparency is huge to build the trust. And we don't allow people going back in time to change the things. The reading is the reading. You pick it up or something, that's it. And it's so automated picking up a reading. So now I'm going to show you a demo, keeping that in the back of the mind, what I said. So here we're going to go to Gary's data. This is real-time data, and we'll take a look at this. This is his vitals. There has been no active notifications and everything. That means things have been really well, for him in terms of alerts or anything. Or he has resolved some of the alerts because, some of the alerts that are right there, this is good and alerted. And I see it's resolved now, which is great. They can go to vitals. In the vitals, you can see basically because you can actually add custom and you can actually see baselines. These baselines can change. So we have a concept of a AHA baselines, which is American Heart Association baseline, but each human being has their own baselines. And those baselines are created over multiple times of data collection over charts. We call it the AI baselines. And those AI baselines get on top of your baselines to get the true view of your health. And that's pretty neat. So in this case, look at all the query. He's sitting right here and his heartbeat is coming every single day. Imagine that is happening for people around the world. Imagine that is happening for the patients around for you. Imagine that you're able to get this data and you're able to see and make proper judgment and everything. And I know where you're going right now from clinician side. I've heard it. Is it a data overload? No, I'm going to explain that in a minute. This is granular data that I'm showing you, but you don't need to see it in a granular fashion because that'll be too much time spending 100% care for one patient only. That's not the goal, unless it's a billionaire that we're doing concierge physician for. So, that's also true cases too. But by the way, that imagination is different. Now you look at charts. This is where a lot of the contribution of the product has been provided by our Abhit being there in this as a chief medical officer. Plus, we have other advisory groups in our team who are into medical. And that adds a different viewpoint when you look at the data. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the data here. And when you look at this data point for his health, creating that chart on his heart rate, you can see, okay, his heart rate has always been very much like athletic, a healthy heart rate. But suddenly now it expands to something which is bigger or something that has happened. What happened to that use cases? Why? That the heart rate expanded, or what happens the correlation of that with the blood pressure, what happens with the correlation of your temperature or your SpO2 or your steps or your sleep if you're wearing it at the time of sleep. That's what tells a different story. When you add that to something like insights, you see your tread panels for insights over 7 days of data looking at every granular point, and now you're seeing what is happening. You can go dig in deeper. You can create incident report. You can create different notes and annotations. They can come back in past and look at it. That tells you a different story of their data. Then you add medication adherence part of it to know if you missed your medication, what's the effect on your vitals, or you add incident notes in an ALF when somebody's fallen or something, or you look at other document and activities. Now let's take a look at his activities, right? We look at his activities basically and see April 1st, April 31st. This is all his activity per hour. how he has been keeping it and everything up to date when he walks, which is very healthy. He doesn't go and do all his 10,000 steps in the morning and says, I'm going to do my 10,000 steps, I'm sitting. He's using it in his lifestyle about knowing what is happening. And then he's applying that in the blood pressure. Then he's applying all these heart rate. Tells you a different story, steps to sleep story. One of the new things we have just created actually, and now I'm going to go to our demo server. We have just launching in Tuesday that's coming out. We do 24 product releases on our software every year, 2 release per month, and we do 1 hardware release every year. So you got to imagine the changes that are coming, the speed that is coming out with clinician background and the knowledge we are getting from our clinician team. A network like yourself with enough feedback coming in, it'll be phenomenal. It'll make the product to the next level. We just added another trend panel. If you look at the insights, we added one more. We call it sleep insights, to look at your deep sleep and your blood pressure at the same time, which actually is coming in. Give me a second. This is our, maybe it is not trying to work. Maybe it's the internet connection or something. Let it come back. Okay. Insights. Okay, perfect. When you apply that to the sleep pattern, when you apply your blood pressure to the sleep pattern, or you apply your heart rate to the sleep pattern, and then you see how basically your data is moving, you look at your overnight day sleep total, it tells you very different stuff. Gary, you don't have this. This is coming on Tuesday in the platform. It's our new release. So this is the kind of things we're adding, insights, detail. If you got up in the morning and you're taking all your steps and you're having a very healthy life, but you never move and you never did hydration, what is the effect of that on your sleep? We can tell you that. Study in a mini study so you can think about. So the 10 biomarkers that we collect is blood pressure, oxygen, temperature, heart rate variability, pulse, steps, sleep, sedentary for movement, and medication reminders and water hydration. And then now we do a combination of all that to do more. The one that is coming out in October release, our hardware, can do sleep record, can do snoring recording for sleep apnea because it has a speaker and a mic, so it can even take a phone call today. And so then we have an EMR response that is built in. When you come in and you click inside the watch, you can see all your medical history if you have done. We are doing also building right now in October release that's coming out, which is preventative fall. When you fall, it takes all your vitals, it collects it, it keeps track of all your vitals per second basis till the time you get up the fall. By then, the alerts have already sent out to our team, to your family members, and to the response units already. Now, when you come in and you get up, then it changes the fall ratio to every 5 minutes. Then it keeps a snapshot of the time that you fall. And then the next time, if you're about to fall within that snapshot and the blood pressure and the vitals, then it will tell you to say, calm down, please breathe, relax. So we call it preventative fall. And then there are other sensors coming out for respiratory sensor and lux count sensor for vitamin D. So the October release is a game over in terms of the device. There's no device in the world that is there. Even the current one, there's no world device that can do blood pressure FDA cleared. Now I stop there. I will now leave it to the team for any questions.
Hi, Gaurav. It's Jeremy. How are
Hi,
you?
Jeremy.
Um, so for those of you I haven't met, I'm a cardiac surgeon. I've been an investor in the fund since 2020. And I had the pleasure of talking to Gaurav yesterday for about an hour or so, and I really learned a lot about the device and about the company. And I look at it as a really tremendous opportunity. It's a software company first, rather than, as you alluded to, rather than a device company who is targeting a tremendously underserved patient population and incentivizing those who care for that patient population to benefit from the Medicare billing. And the way it's being done, makes a lot of sense. But I was wondering if maybe you could talk to us about a couple of things. One, things that people may not initially realize is that the subscription price is completely paid for by the very baseline Medicare billing. Maybe you could talk to us
Yeah.
about how your platform integrating into these facilities with billing optimization and how that is going
Yes.
to be an invaluable resource for them. And two, as Gary alluded to, the tremendous data set that you're going to have from this. And, we know that CMS and large health systems, see that as very valuable data that they will pay for. How do you plan to monetize that in the future, and how are you looking at those two things?
Very good question, Jeremy. And let me actually explain that. One thing I want to tell you is, as Jeremy said, And we had a great discussion yesterday and this, and I'm happy to do anybody with the one-on-one discussion also, no problem anytime, because I think we're going to be friends for a long time in this. So we have to be open and we have to be able to talk and fully transparent. There's fraud in many, many areas on this. The opportunity looks great. We can bill up to $181 per patient per day. Is the goal really billing CPT codes or billing outcomes for the healthcare of the people? Right? Is the goal basically now adding more CPT codes? We have 25 of them. We're just exploring 5, which is RPM. There's RTM, there's CCM, there's TCM, there's BHI, CHI, and many others. I'm learning every day. So the question is, how do you make your life easy? Because I know when I've talked to some of the facilities and then the bill, like a sniff is a big great example. They get all this stuff, and then the billing part of it is like a nightmare, some collection, what's a reimbursement? How do you do it? We have eliminated that. Our system does every calculation, one report, click a button, downloads it. You take that thing and just submit it. Is that simple in terms of the billing experience that we have created? Then I want to also allude to one more thing. Chief Medical Officer of CMS, Medicare, his name is Lee Flesher. He was the CMO of CMS. And you can search for him any day. He is actually consulting with us right now as we speak, because I was done by saying, how do you get the audit? How do you go to the people? How do you make sure you're the best of the best? You're building a standard that people need a stamp. So I got Lee in a conference. I met him once only. He became so mesmerized with this. And he was like, Gaurav, you have nailed down this thing that people have been looking forward for. And there's so much fraud. He sat down, saw the whole demo. He said, I want to be in. So he joined as part of the team, and now he's doing a full audit on the system. He also has his consulting firm, which is a Roboherm consulting firm that he follows, Lee Flesher. You can look for his name. And he is now consulting for us, and he's auditing the whole end-to-end pipeline to make sure it is stamped by him. No better person to go to than getting a stamp from him and then saying to the world, hey, let's go and we talk about it. So that's the essence of the type of things we're doing on the monitoring side of it. And Jeremy, I think your first question, because I answered your second question. Could you repeat one more time the first question, please?
Yeah, about the data collection and what your
Yes.
strategy is for that.
On the data monetization, data collection. Okay,
Yep.
thank you. So on the data side of it, Jeremy's alluded very important point is we are a data company. We are not a device company. We're not even a software company. We are a data company. When you collect this data, optimize the data, manage the data, smartly collect the data, adherence is very critical. Number one, because people are wearing it, then you collect good data. Noise, how do you eliminate bad data? How do you use good data to decide good outcomes and projections? Very important. When you look at this data, two facilities have two people, patients, similar characteristic, where one person is improving better, other person is not. You look into the data. Did he get a reminder for the water? Yes. Did he click on the reminder for the water? Did he eat his medication on time? Did he do any steps properly? Is he having a proper sleep? What's his blood pressure looks like? Blood pressure is just one biomarker. There's a whole holistic lifestyle of the people. People will not change their lifestyle. People love shiny objects. They come in, they wear it, they try it for a little while, whether it's ordering or something, and then like, why am I going to wear this all the time? I'm healthy. Right? That's the essence of people think. So that data collection, by reminding them, having the grandkids sending messages to it, you can change the face of the dial to have beautiful stuff. We even have, guys, this is something I need to show. We even have here our own app store, basically, that you can actually add other things here to basically this. It's not Apple App Store. It's our app store. Then in the future, people with oncology, people with other specialized diseases, rare diseases will have their own app, and we become the standard to provide data, which is the controlled data in terms of what is allowed by HIPAA and what is given consent by the patients. So those standard, when you're creating and you start looking at this stuff, creates a different lifestyle of connectivity and retention. Then when you look at the data, we have to be very careful. How do you monetize on the data? We cannot go and start selling the data. It's the first time, and I've created a rule in the company, this data is owned by the patients. They have to give a consent. Now in the future, let's say a person comes in and says, hey, I want to run this study. I need this many people. These people are going to be this characteristics. I was saying this to Gary. This would be, me and Gary went completely on our own mindset of futuristic stuff. We'll be able to go into our application, look at all the different patients, choose the characteristics, and add it to the study, and automatically say send. They all get a message on their phone, on their watch, and on the watch is like, would you like to participate in the study for this many dollars? Yes, no. Yes, click. And then automatically now they get money, which watch in the world today can return money back to you because it's FDA cleared. That's the difference. That's the future. And this Jeremy also did not know. Yes, I didn't have time to explain this. So this is Jeremy, the data monetization strategy, one of it. Others is insurance companies where we will anonymize the data and collect the characteristics of heuristic analysis in terms of our or clinical analysis in terms of the data that comes out that will be able to give back to the insurance company to reduce insurance rates and stuff. So I hope I answered both the questions for you, Jeremy.
I'm just going to jump in just for a second because this is such a huge point. And Jeremy, thank you for asking those two great questions because, one of the things that we pride ourselves on, we meaning the network, okay, is being able to look from the 100,000, 10,000 foot, 1,000 foot down on the healthcare delivery system. We see everything that's coming down the pike. And we're moving in a direction because of what I mentioned before, the fact that data is the future of healthcare. We're moving in a direction that's going to flip the entire compensation and reimbursement system on its head, as Gaurav is alluding to, and it's going to be patient-centric. Okay. So if you think about the current system right now, and I stay up at night thinking about this stuff. The current system is so malaligned, disincentivized, misincentivized. We have all the wrong incentives for the patients, for the providers in the way we do things, how we compensate people, how much it costs for insurance. You think of the current system, who's the best patient in the world for an insurance company? I just met yesterday, with two 19-year-old undergraduates who are life sciences individuals that heard about our network from Cal Berkeley. And we were talking about this. They are the best patient, right? Because they pay very little insurance, but they never use the insurance. So, and how much data do they collect? Well, they collect probably preventative data, lifestyle data that's valuable down the line from a global perspective, but that's about it. Now, who's the worst patient in the system? It's the multi-system disease elderly patient who's costing us a fortune, who's living till they're, nowadays, many of them are living into their 90s, and it's very expensive to the system. And their insurance costs a fortune, or even if it's, what is it costing Medicare? It really is malaligned. But if all of a sudden we had a system where now you're in charge of your data, right? So the system moving forward is now focused in on you and what your needs are and your data. So if you're now that elderly, multi-system disease 80-year-old with 70 years of data sitting behind you, okay, you are a gold mine. You're a walking gold mine for the system, but you're also a walking gold mine for yourself. But patients have no clue. And even with HIPAA now, if anyone's under the assumption that their data isn't everywhere, I'm sorry, but it's not true. And this is coming from an informaticist. Let me just, but from that point and that perspective, when you look at it that way, then all of a sudden, instead of insurance, there's going to be data brokers, okay? And they're really the ones that work with the patients and help you control your data. How do you take care of yourself? How do you conduct your lifestyle? How do you take your genomic data and your phenomic data and put it into the system, into a database that allows you in a precision way to take care of yourself based on all that information and help you live a lifestyle to avoid disease as opposed to getting it? But that's down the line, right? That's maybe 5, 10, 15 years from now. But more importantly, your data is so valuable that if that data broker now works with the system to make it available to clinical trials, to make it available to pharmaceutical companies, but again, you can choose either an anonymized way or a non-anonymized way, you will generate revenue based on your data. And the actuaries have shown that the amount of money that could be generated on those very sick patients is more than sufficient to take care of them, their medical care, but it also could even provide as a small source of revenue, right? You're the author. No reason you shouldn't be getting royalties on the data. So that's really where the future of healthcare is going. And that's when you look at a platform like this, you look at a device like this, we're even looking at implantable devices for like really chronically ill, very sick patients. The future is going to turn the whole system on its end and incentivize, again, with that system, if you're doing the right things, and let's say you're my age and I'm running my triathlons and I'm taking my supplements and I'm wearing the watch, there's no reason that I shouldn't also be tokenized or reimbursed or rewarded for doing the right things. Whereas if you don't do the right things, and then from a precision standpoint, you're the one who's morbidly obese and getting diabetes and coronary artery disease, it's going to affect the cost of your care and your insurance as well. And, that's somewhat controversial, but that's the direction in which we're going.
One thing I'll say before I leave it for Bruce is the interportability of data is huge. Huge, guys. Today, all the data is owned by the Epic, Cerners, and medical systems in healthcare. A patient cannot change insurance. Patient cannot change something. This is the first time ever it's their data, and it's interportability of the data. They can go wherever, with whoever, and everything. That is the future, basically. So I'll leave it there. Go ahead, back to you, Sheila.
Bruce, I believe you've been waiting for quite some time. Could you take your question ahead?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I'm Bruce Auerbach. I'm a retired emergency physician, emergency department chief, hospital CEO, former hospital CEO of a system. Now, working within the network, I, like Jeremy, was one of the early people to get involved with Gary in the fund very early on, maybe 2018, 19, 20, no later than 20, certainly. So I've been with the fund for a number of years and have been working as an advisor to some of the portfolio companies that the fund has been pursuing. In addition, an active member of the network, and use my own personal network, which I have developed over my 40-year career to help the fund discuss companies with people. So and also just in the way, by my way of background, I have a lot of contact within my network with entities that I think I love this product, what I've heard so far, and I think I'm involved with a number of entities that I think would love to be able to use this for their patients. I'm on the board of a fairly large post-acute care company that has multiple facilities, and I know that we would love to be able to know what's going on in a more detailed manner with our patients. But my question is, I may have missed it. I joined a couple minutes late, and you may have discussed this already. How does one get involved? How does a patient get involved? Is this the physician that basically writes a prescription or basically enters the patient in? And then what's the reimbursement process? Is there any cost to the patient? Is it all going through the billing from the physician? Just so I can know to talk to the multiple entities with whom I am currently now involved at Penn Med in Philadelphia and Mass General Brigham in the Boston area, and with the cardiology departments and so on and so forth. And I would like to be able to know how that all works so that I can basically, if you're interested, start talking to people about it.
I mean, first, phenomenal. This shows the power of the network right there, what you just said. So I'll be glad, to talk even now and part of the fund or outside it as a network for sure. Amazing. Let me explain. And I think this was also one of the things Jeremy asked that I kind of had not explained properly. So apologize. Let me explain exactly the process. When we go to an ALF or an ILF or a senior living or anything, our consent has to be signed with the patient because the patient's decision on RPM, whether they want an RPM or not. Now, I stopped right there for a minute. I have two models today. A model is from a physician model, and I call it a non-physician model. And I came up with these two models because I can explain that why later. But a physician model is physician says, hey, I have some patients who will be interested. We go to the patient saying, would you be okay to wear it? Yes, I like it. I'll wear it. Once they wear it, they sign the consent. We get onboarded them through remotely or through in person, depends on the jurisdiction which we support. And then after we have installed the hardware, we're collecting the data, making sure everything is happening. We're telling them about their health. Now, all the data of that is going to the physician. And so the physician can actually look at the data. We are a monitoring service. So we monitor the data and everything, and we share the cost of. So the physician basically can do the billing on his NPI. And once we get the billing, they will pay us and they will pay the monitoring service. So together. So that's how it's monetized. The watch is included. The insurance, the subscription is included. The televisit is included, the visits, everything is included. What the physician gets, that's why the physician we pay or we collect from physician is a lot more share. So it's not about 50-50%. The physician actually makes little lower than any other RPM company they have worked with in the past, because we provide a very high quality product. But what the physician get in return is any visits that come back from this, any alerts that come back from this, health, lifestyle. When the person visits there in person, before that, the whole reports are ready for the physicians to look at. So there's a thing that we play in there. So we call it the physician's recommended model. Second model we have is non-physicians model. That means we have patients who said, I want it, right? And because they've heard about it, because their parents have told them, or even in the facility like an ALF, they're the decision maker. And we don't know who doctor they have. They might have 5 different doctors in the ALF that are coming and visiting. So we can't go to every single 5 doctors and wait for it. So I came with this model because of that reason. We go to the ALF, we talk to the ALF owner or the SNF, they like it. Now we go to the patient, we give them the whole demo and everything, they like it. Now the patient signs a consent, they're in. What we want in return is the onboarding process, their diagnostic code, which is the DX codes and the codes that are needed in order for to do RPM, because we're very thorough in terms of onboarding. What is the chronic condition? What is the compliance and everything? Once we get that, then our doctors on our staff, we have our own NPIs that actually monitors and provides the qualification. And then they can basically be the one using our NPI billing. In this case, their doctors get nothing. We get 100% of our own billing and our own doctors. Number one, our doctors are not allowed to diagnose. Our doctors are only allowed to monitor. So they can do a televisit and monitor. And every month monitoring and every month televisit is what we provide on top of what the RPM rules are. So we have made it better. Basically, what the real RPM should be is for better outcomes for the patient. So that's the second model. We have had another people who have come in and said, oh, we want to have our P10 under you, so you do the billing and you do the monitoring, and we will just give you our P10. We have that model also we had to create, where we are billing on behalf of the doctor because of our transparency being so clean and the doctor can click. We have a rule built in that even before billing, the doctor has to click approve on a billing. We do not bill even a single CPT code without the doctor's approval. So that's very, very critical. And that transparency, the doctors love, that transparency, the patients love. And that's how we have been going and tracking the market.
Thank you very much. Very helpful.
Thank you. And we have brochures, Bruce, for this and everything. And yes, you are going to be phenomenal in the introductions for those that I care about. So once the fund decides everything goes well, love to connect with you separately, because I think that that's huge. And we can explain all of that again.
Yeah, I would like very much to have some time separately with you. If Shital or Gary or you could send me your contact information.
Sure.
Thank you.
And we'd also love to share the due diligence materials with you, Bruce, so that you can have a review at the memo that is currently under process right now.
Thank you.
Invite you to be an SME on the project.
Right, and we'll be creating a community separate from the due diligence for the company, so it'll be very accessible both from a public and from a secure private communication perspective.
And actually, that is the point I would like to bring this up. While we are evaluating VitalFriend as a potential investment for GHF2, we also are looking to partner with them from the network perspective. Yeah. So that for any clinicians who want to prescribe this product for their patients or who want to try it out, this is something that is possible. So we'll work with Gaurav to make sure that we have this information up on the network, on the community. This is totally outside the scope of the investment. This is a separate aspect of how we are working with VitalFriend. So keep a lookout and also send us your interest areas, or what is it that you are looking. Would you like to use the product for yourself and your family, or is it something you would like to prescribe to your patients? How are you looking to approach this? So we'd love to hear some inputs. I think we are almost at the top of the...
Any other last questions?
Yeah, there's one. We can probably take one more question if anyone has.
Sure, I'll go ahead. Gaurav, being the device agnostic platform, So how do you see the platform itself evolving beyond the RPM into a defensible, software layer over the next 2, 3 years?
So that's Gary was saying, and Jeremy was alluding to about the whole data strategy. There's a lot of data strategy aspect of things. Just on the RPM side, there are other CPT codes like CCM and RTM. What I learned, trust goes two ways. Once you trust the patients to wear the device, we collect the data. Then you trust the doctor, trust you that everything is done very transparent. Now you can provide the doctor extra services on the patient to reduce staff, reduce health, better healthcare, better everything. So it has to come together. It cannot just be going to the doctor for the, we'll do CCM, RPM, RTM, CCMD. The doctor will say, please, man, I don't want anything. Thank you. Basically. So you got to go a step-by-step approach. The first step approach, and I think Gary is doing the VitalFriend salute right now. I was about to do it. I stopped it. Thank you. Because every 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, every 2 hours, there's a VitalFriend. So Gary came with a great idea that we were in the meeting with my team and everybody's rings 11 o'clock. So everybody did this, hands on here, sitting down, 2 feet on the ground. So Gary calls it the VitalFriend salute, which is pretty cool actually. But sorry to digress. So I would say that there are other codes available.
You need to do it with your right hand so that you're putting your hand over your heart.
I know. No, but usually it's the left hand because of the heart, and then it has to be on the same alignment.
Well, you can accomplish that with either side, Bruce.
so Abhishek, so the main thing is the codes are there, and we are going to go to those codes, but we want to build the trust first based on RPM. Right? Because doctors know very well there's not enough pie to share. Even if you have 181 total billing for a 40 minutes notes, right? Are you going to really do the 40 minutes? And that's why our systems are so good, because when people are doing two readings, because RPM laws have changed, we don't allow taking more than 2 minutes of notes, on a single call. We don't allow, you can chit-chatting with the customer and putting all the things there for 15 minutes. We don't allow that. That's where fraud comes in. That's where our systems are built that way, where after 2 minutes, you don't even allow to put in any more timer, or you're making another call the another day, right? For another something else. So those things make your system stronger. You can't go bill 40 minutes on a two reading. It makes nonsense in terms of, the thing. This is how people get into fraud and everything. So we have rules built in, guardrails built into a system. This is what I learned so many fraud cases I've read on RPM for in the past. So each CPT codes that we're going to take, we're going to really do it good, and we're going to do it good for the outcome of the patients.
Yeah.
So I know we're short on time, so I had one last point around harkening back to Jeremy's question about monetization for the company. And then this will tie in a little bit, Abhishek, with your question about defensible data as well. Is one thing which we didn't maybe necessarily highlight is contemporaneous monitoring during pharma clinical trials, right? So I've been currently talking to a lot of pharma and biotech companies who say we want eyeballs on our patient when they are enrolled in a decentralized or hybrid trial. What is happening when they are at home? We don't really know how their biomarkers are behaving, how's their HR, how's their blood pressure, how's their HRV. But for a new monoclonal, for a new cancer indication, we want to know how much hypotension is the patient getting after immunotherapy. And because that kind of hypertension at home can be very serious with kind of faints, syncopes, and then, just falling and cracking their skull and brain bleeds. And so that is the kind of discussions, and that is an additional monetization angle, is decentralized or hybrid clinical trials, where we strap on a BUDDI and the whole elaborate ecosystem monitors patients at home and furnishes those key data points to pharma companies. And that is, again, another monetization angle we currently are pursuing. But I know time is short, so back to you, Sheetal, if there are any other questions. Otherwise, we can wrap it up.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gaurav and Abid. That was super helpful. I hope if anybody had any queries, questions, they have all been responded. But anyways, we'll be in touch to ask for your feedback on what you think on the company and what is your perspective, either as a consumer, investor, however you would like to approach your position. Thank you very much for your time and appreciate your inputs.